Welcome back. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is on his way to North Korea, where he's expected to make arrangements for President Trump's second summit with Kim Jong-un.
The Trump administration is trying to strike a diplomatic deal with Kim, but it appears the administration may be changing its timeline for the North Korean leader to give up his nuclear weapons. The Trump team had been pressing for Kim to denuclearize by the end of President Trump's first term. But now, Trump administration officials have said they will take their time with Chairman Kim. Secretary Pompeo will also visit Japan, South Korea, and China.
For more, let's bring in senior diplomatic correspondent Nina Larson. Nina, what can we realistically expect from Pompeo's trip?
Well, Pompeo is under a lot of pressure on this trip to deliver something, something concrete. And he has been talking to the one reporter that's traveling with him en route to Japan at the moment. He'll be in Japan tomorrow, then he'll spend just a few hours in North Korea and then South Korea and then Beijing the following day. We had some hints that I think that the main thing he might deliver is some kind of notice of the next Trump-Kim summit. So there is no time or location at the moment set in stone, but that was the main theme of his conversation with the traveling press on that flight with him. I don't think we can expect any major breakthroughs beyond that. But there has been a report in the Washington Post in recent days that President Moon of South Korea has been behind the scenes suggesting some kind of compromise that the U.S. can offer to formally end the Korean War. It's been in an armistice situation since 1953. And in exchange for that, Kim would start dismantling his nuclear program, starting with Yongbyon, which is a key nuclear facility.
Nina, what is the status of sanctions against North Korea?
Well, that's a good question, David. At the moment, South Korea as well, there are reports that they want to ease some sanctions, and they have their own agenda here because South Korea has a lot of investments and potential investments in the north, infrastructure projects, that kind of thing. So they want to be able to proceed with that. But also China is arguably the only power that can really assist with those sanctions, but they're under question from the United Nations as well as the United States these days, along with Russia, of perhaps trying to circumvent those sanctions and still assisting the North, particularly by sea imports and exports.
And Nina, if you can explain, what's the sense of timeline for denuclearization?
Well, again, that's very much up in the air, Tal. Mike Pompeo had been saying that his estimate is by 2021 to have full denuclearization of that Korean peninsula, but then President Trump at the UN really kind of fudged that. He's been saying that it could take a couple of months, it could take a couple of years. I think that's deliberate, so we can give Chairman Kim some kind of wiggle room there and ease the pressure, just so we can get those talks started again. The key thing seems to be that the North Koreans have calculated that Donald Trump is the only man who's the real decision maker in this administration, and vice versa.
Nina Larson, our senior diplomatic correspondent. Nina, thank you very much.
Interpol chief Meng Hongwei has been reported missing. French police have launched an investigation into the disappearance after he vanished on a trip to China. 64-year-old Meng is a former Chinese government minister. His wife and children have not heard from him since he left for China last week. Mr. Meng was elected to the head of the International Police Agency 2 years ago. A Hong Kong-based newspaper has reported that Mr. Wang was, quote, taken away for questioning in China. Chinese officials have not yet commented. Meanwhile, the Washington Post left its opinion page blank on this day in protest of a prominent Saudi journalist who is missing. Jamal Khashoggi has not been seen since he visited the Saudi consulate in Istanbul earlier this week, seeking a document he needs to get married.
His fiancée, who accompanied him to the consulate, waited for him outside until after midnight. She returned again the next morning. Khashoggi is a columnist for the Washington Post and lives in the United States. He is a very fierce critic of the Saudi leadership. His family believes that he may have been detained by Saudi Arabian authorities.
Well, Saudi Arabia says he left the building, and Turkey says he may still be inside.
I'm gonna
in the meantime, the fiance is still sitting there outside waiting for him.
I'm going to bet that he's still there.
Inside?
Inside. And then I think he's probably extremely fearful of his life and his probably has pretty good reason to be that way.
Probably Turkey cannot go inside the consulate.
Yeah, and until he can get some sort of safe passage, maybe he stays there. More than 1,000 people may still be missing after Indonesia's tsunami, and hope is fading quickly.
Search and rescue has officially turned to body recovery. It's been 1 week since a 7.5 magnitude earthquake rattled Palu, followed by a massive tsunami that swallowed much of the already devastated areas.
The death toll is now over 1,500, and it's only expected to rise as a lot of these people who are missing perhaps get found by these recovery crews.
I'm here to find corpses, my family's corpses. Yesterday we found my mother. Now what's left are my father, my wife, and my nephew. There are so many corpses, more than 1,000.
After days of delays, international aid is starting to trickle into Indonesia. The United Nations says 200,000 people need humanitarian assistance.
Here in the United States, police in Chicago are on the hunt for a killer. 2 men were murdered in 2 days by the same gun. One victim was a prominent member of the Orthodox Jewish community, and he had ties to Jewish community centers all around the state of Illinois.
And his death is being felt far from that community among the friends he made in an online gaming world. I-24 News correspondent Andy Rosjan has the story.
Along a raw, cold, windswept shore of Lake Michigan, friends of Eli Moskowitz still can't believe it, that the friend they knew with a mischievous smile and a big heart is simply gone.
Like a light in this world is just snuffed out in a way that's just, it's not fair and it's not right.
24-year-old Eli was one of 10 children, the son and nephew of rabbis, and working as a supervisor in a kosher supermarket deli.
He was the sweetest, nicest, gentlest, most friendly, welcoming person one could imagine.
Police say Moskowitz was gunned down at random on Monday while walking along this lakefront trail in a quiet north side neighborhood, miles removed from where most Chicago murders happen. 1 day earlier, another man was gunned down nearby, and police think the suspect, caught on surveillance, committed both murders in separate robbery attempts. And while police cars canvass a shaken neighborhood looking for a killer, Eli's friends are looking back.
He knew who he was, and he was genuine in that.
She was here the night before he was murdered.
Sunday night, Eli was helping Rabbi Baruch Epstein with holiday services.
This lakefront was prime territory for Eli's favorite obsession, Pokemon Go.
This was his avatar. In fact, it's how most of the friends who showed up for this candlelight vigil knew Eli. Most weren't Jewish and didn't even realize he came from one of Illinois' most prominent Orthodox Jewish families, one that helped develop Chicago's Jewish community some 70 years ago and then expanded it across the state.
Someone like him that can look the way he does, and you know, from the outside you feel like you never have anything in common with a person like that, you know, but in the end you realize we're all the same.
And Adam Thornburg says he almost went for a walk along that same path on the fateful night that Eli was murdered.
You dodged a bullet and then you find out that your friend's the one that took it. I don't think there's any way to actually measure that.
Andy Rosjan, I-24 News, Chicago.
So sad.
First Lady Melania Trump has had a pretty smooth visit in Africa. No bumps in the road until today. Watch. Ms. Trump was visiting an orphan elephant rescue in Kenya when one of the babies nearly knocked her over. The First Lady laughed it off like a champ. Kenya is Melania's third stop in a four-nation tour of Africa. She'll visit Egypt on Sunday.
So why do you think that baby elephant decided to try to push her?
I don't
What's
know.
going on there?
He thought she was too clean? I don't know.
Maybe he didn't like the white. I don't know. Maybe the elephant just had a bad feeling. I don't know.
Do you think the president calls Melania
No.
every day, like to find out how she's... No? Okay.
By the way, it is that time of year again. New York is hosting Comic-Con, one of the biggest pop culture events on the U.S. East Coast. It's for fans of comic books, anime, video games, and more, all unite. And Tall, you were there last year and again this year. So what'd you think?
I think that it just amazes me every year how so many people take this event really, really seriously, and they put so much effort into their costumes. Watch. mecca of superheroes, sci-fi, and comics, this year's Comic-Con in New York also has a special edition for fans of anime. Let's get my pilgrimage going. What's the story behind your costume?
So we're actually the Dementor Busters. We're a mashup of Harry Potter and Ghostbusters together. So we have a slightly different patch here than your average ghost. That's a Dementor there.
What's your favorite thing about Comic-Con in general?
I think just coming in and seeing everyone and what they create and bring into the Comic-Con, like just the costumes are amazing. I love seeing people like be themselves and just go crazy.
Okay, don't look down.
What am I doing today?
We're going to do the Skyscraper VR experience, the Impossible Leap. Okay,
Will it get me close to Dwayne Johnson?
You're going to help save Dwayne Johnson's family.
All
so
right.
I'm sure he'll be appreciative
if
you make the leap.
There's a family stuck inside a giant skyscraper, so I'm going to save them. Is it comfortable in there? No, not at all. We're apparently in London now, and I'm about to step in a movie scene from Mortal Engines. About this time?
It's special because you come here and everyone is accepted. It doesn't matter what you're dressed up as, if you're not dressed up, if you're a comic book lover, a book lover, an art lover, a Marvel lover, anything. Everyone is accepted here and it's the best.
I am Dr. Doom and I make it a national holiday. Welcome to Doomsday.
I'm ready to go.
Welcome to Doomsday? That's what
yeah, and then I told him I'm Jewish, and it was like, it's everybody's doomsday. And then he took me. David, I have a sci-fi shirt for you with magicians. Just sci-fi.
Sci-fi, and who are all these people on it?
These are magicians.
Oh.
So
if I wear this, I can do magic.
You can do tricks.
Like make myself disappear.
Yes. These are dad tricks.
Dad tricks, right.
Dad
okay,
tricks.
I will wear it proudly. By the way, as you may know, I am terrified of heights. So this next story would never happen to me, but it was a really close call, actually, for a man who was on a theme park attraction in China. He's about 500 feet from the ground, leaping across the suspension bridge. There are large gaps between those planks, and I guess it's supposed to be fun, but oops.
Well, when he gets to the end, and you see his safety harness became detached. There is no safety net beneath the bridge. Well, the ride has been shut down for now, but some say, by the way, that it's a publicity stunt. I don't think so.
I don't like starting to get, it makes me nervous just watching it. Let's go back and talk about Comic-Con. What's your favorite part about Comic-Con?
Really seeing the costumes, seeing the costumes. It just amazes me. And when you walk down like 11th Avenue, 42nd Street, 40th Street, like you see the people going there. It's really the mecca for comic fans. All right, David the Magician.
I'm ready. I'm going to put it on for stateside.
All right, that does it for this hour of Crossroads. Stay around to see David wearing the shirt.